We've talked a lot on Promeia meta teams, and next we would also talk more extensively on her new team variant with Felina. Is it better than Nanggong team? Subscribe to find out. For now, let's touch on Promeia's more underrated team. Promeia, Lycaon, Nicole. I believe to be the best Promeia team without any limited agents, which realistically could be the case for some of you who just pulled Promeia last banner. Nanggong banner and Yuzuhari Run West just happened last patch, so it could be months until their next appearance. Or you are the type of player who wants to clear endgame with the most minimal investment needed, which I respect. Yuzuha and Nanggong is a meta support that feels a lot wheelchairy to be honest, but the cheaper alternatives may not be as bad. Let's discuss more about the team building. Lycaon is an obvious option for Promeia here. If you don't have Nanggong, Lycaon would be Promeia's second best stunner. His 25% Ice Rush rate is crazy strong, and the 35% stun multiplier with a guarantee for stun on Deadly Assault also a really valuable kit to have. Promeia is an Bloom DPS, and it is important to understand that she deals huge damage, but on a limited number of opportunity, decided by a resource tax. M0 Promeia with a stunner rotation would look something like this. Outside of stun, on the pre-stun phase, she generates her corrosive chill by freezing, distorter, or EX parry. Meanwhile, Lycaon building the daze meter until stun. And inside the stun, she uses up all her resource bar to deal huge Bloom damage. For M0 Promeia, you should be aiming 3 to 4 Bloom per stun with a stunner. So in a run with 4 stun total, then we should expect around 12 to 16 Bloom. This number could vary depending on many things which we will talk about more later. And then Nicole, also an obvious option. After Yuzuha, Nicole is Promeia's second best support agent. Promeia has an innate 40% Bloom death threat on her kit, and Nicole also gives another 40% death threat. Without getting into too much detail on the math, what you need to know is stacking death threat is really good. The higher the death threat, the higher the return of damage increase, and 80% death threat total is a really good value. But Nicole also comes with a slight problem. She's not really as easy to use as a support for Promeia compared to Yuzuha. Her death threat debuff duration is really short, about 3 to 5 seconds, so quick swapping between Nicole applying debuff and Promeia dealing a Bloom damage would be the way to play them together. Thankfully, Lycaon is a silent observer on the stun rotation here. As long as he applies his stun multiplier debuff at the start of stun, we don't need to swap to him again. And one other thing that Nicole good at is anomaly buildup. Even though it's not as frequent as with anomaly partner like Vivian or Nanggong, Nicole can still give about 3 to 4 corruption proc in the run for Promeia without AMD 6, which gives more disorder for Promeia. The damage will not really be that high because Nicole is not a proper anomaly agent with high AP in her kit, but this is important for Promeia resource generations. Every disorder is a plus 5 corrosive chill that could help us to get one more Bloom on the rotation for Promeia. But before that, a word from today's sponsor, NJGM. If you are looking for a safe, affordable, and convenient top-up platform, NJGM is a go-to choice. Simply enter your UID and server info. No password or account login required. It's fast, secure, and risk-free. As a new user, you'll receive an 8% site-wide coupon. And you can also enjoy discounts of up to 22% off on popular games like Zenless. Please note, discounts may vary by region. And it's not just ZZZ. NJGM regularly runs promotion across a wide range of popular games. NJGM works with multiple global and local payment channels, so you can use the payment method that you already trust. And with NJGM being PCI DSS certified, your every payment is encrypted and meets the highest global security benchmarks. NJGM also holds a consistently high rating with tons of genuine reviews from users worldwide over on Trustpilot. So what are you waiting for? Ready to save? Just click my link below to get started. Thanks to NJGM for sponsoring this video. Okay, let's get more detailed on it. What's important on Lycaon gameplay that you always need to keep in mind is his debuff. Whenever he uses defensive assist follow-up or his EX specials, he will apply his 25% Ice Rush threat, marked by this small icon below the enemy HP. Then, when you are about to stun the enemy, make sure Lycaon attack the enemy inside the stun so that he applies his stun multiplier debuff. If you enter stun without Lycaon attacking the stun enemy, the stun multiplier debuff will not apply. So one way you can play it out to enter the stun is, Lycaon use his EX on an enemy with more than 90 days, Nicole EX to apply her debuff, and Promeia EX to start the stun. Or if Lycaon is in his hunter state and the enemy is stunned, then you don't need to swap to him at all, as he will apply it himself. Here's the general strategy for stunning in a run. On the first stun, we receive some defensive assist first without entering Lycaon hunter state just to build daze. And when we are close to stun, we'll use Lycaon next defensive assist to enter his Hunter state. I find it more comfortable to get him enter Hunter state as close as possible to the stun window. One reason for that is for his quick assist to Promeia for stacking Astral Voice buff right before the stun. On the later stun window, you will start with Lycaon ultimate on the stun recovery, which will build a lot of days to start for the next stun, so you can immediately enter Hunter state here. And as you might have guessed, Lycaon dazing capability depends a lot on the enemy giving Yellow Glint for defensive assist. If the boss is stalling by not giving Yellow Glint, that may be a reason to reset because that could take a lot of time out of the rotation. And we need that time if we want to get a full 4 stun window. Now Nicole Energy Field applies her 40% death threat as long as it touches the enemy and 3.5 seconds after it's gone. It's a really short duration for a debuff. You can know when the debuff is about to end by this icon below the enemy HP. One thing that you have to know is that buffs, the icon that is shown in the agent's HP bar is snapshotted in the anomaly damage calculation, while debuffs, what Lycaon and Nicole gives to Promeia here, the icon below the enemy HP bar, is not snapshotted. What is snapshot? It basically means whether or not the anomaly meter remember Promeia's stats when building them or not. You need Yuza buff to be up when Promeia building the anomaly meter because her buff snapshot into the anomaly meter. But for Lycaon and Nicole debuff, Promeia doesn't need them to be present when she built the anomaly meter, which makes things quite easier. All you have to remember is when Promeia procs Shatter, or more importantly, when Promeia triggers a Bloom, these two icons of debuff by Lycaon and Nicole plus Lycaon's stun multiplier modifier should be present below the enemy HP. It makes the rotation easier because if we have to make sure Nicole debuff present on all times when Promeia build the anomaly meter, that would be impractical because Nicole has limited amount of energy, and as we know, her energy ball duration is not that long. Now one small tip on Nicole energy management. We need to make sure that she can always use her EX specials inside the stun for her debuff. One easy thing that we can do for her energy generation is her basic attack. You can cancel her full basic attack string to other character, and this generate a decent amount of energy for her. And after she uses her EX specials outside the stun, before you quick assist to Promeia, you can also dash cancel into Nicole dash attack. Just like Sokaku dash attack cancel tech, but not as potent, this helps Nicole generate a bit of energy after she uses her EX. If there's a case where Nicole doesn't have energy for debuff refresh inside stun, you can also just use her full basic attack strength for debuff refresh before swapping back to Promeia, though this is not ideal and you should avoid this scenario. Now we do have to talk about this two-team comparison. Lycaon is a great stunner. He can give 4 stun for Promeia even on neutral weakness Finn. And Nicole is the best airing agent in the game. I would even say her debuff power level is as good as an A-strength agent. But we have to talk about what they lack that makes them left behind by the Nangong Yuzuha teams. Disorder plays. One powerful interaction between Promeia and Nangong is how they can proc freeze and corruption back to back for Disorder, inside and outside stun, which change a lot of Promeia rotation. If we compare Promeia Bloom count on my previous Nangong Yuzuha video and this video, we can see that Lycaon Nicole has 3 less Bloom count in the run, and I think the Bloom count in this run is the best that I can get. The reason for that is because of the lack of disorders. Promeia really want disorder for corrosive chill generations. And also Nangong can proc a Bloom, which is another source of corrosive chill generation for Promeia. Lycaon can proc Disorder with Promeia because they are the same attribute, and I would say Nicole already did her best on proccing 4 corruption in the run. One other thing that Promeia lost in Lycaon Nicole team is the sub DPS. You can't ignore how much Nangong deals damage with her Disorders and a Bloom. I think the showcase at the end of the video is played quite well for a reference on the rotation, except for the last stun, which has some blunder in it that I will point out to you. I think this is a good example to show what could go wrong on the run. At the start, before the stun, we are fishing for EX parry on Promeia here, right? Then after getting Promeia EX parry, what should have been done here is Lycaon use his EX to stun, then Nicole use her EX for debuff trigger Promeia chain. But here Lycaon unexpectedly got hit by Finn, which makes him unavailable to swap. And I mistakenly swapped to Nicole EX immediately because of this, forcing me to go back to Lycaon for EX to stun to apply his stun multiplier debuff. This makes Nicole debuff duration doesn't line up quite good. I thought I could make it, but sadly no. This Promeia Bloom hits just after Nicole debuff expired. That's damage loss. This is a thing about Nicole debuff power. She's a high-risk, high-return support. If you play her well, you will get a huge amount of damage increase. But if not, every damage you do outside of her short duration debuff will have a low number. Then I was expecting this Nicole chain to proc corruption, but it doesn't, which is a problem for the stun rotation. If this Nicole chain attack proc corruption for disorder, Promeia next should have enough disable for ultimate, triggering freeze over the corruption so she can get one more Ice Bloom. But here my decision was to just take the freeze for an Bloom, which is not a good decision, because after this Bloom, Nicole need to refresh her debuff again, this time proccing corruption. Now Promeia has enough disable for ultimate, but because she's not on her AM signature and has no external anomaly build-up buff, there's no way she can trigger a freeze over this corruption here, making the last Bloom on the run an Ether Bloom, which you should avoid. Always aim for Ice Bloom on the rotation, as Promeia is the agent on this team with the highest DPS. Overall, this is about 1500 score loss, which I'm sure you could do better. Let's talk about the build. This video premise is how to play Promeia if you don't have her premium support, so I think it would be appropriate to also use mid build and craftables engine for the low investment reference. 25 substat is not too high, but also not too low, just like any other anomaly agent, AP this 4 and AM this 6. Don't use spend ratio this 5, as Promeia with Nicole already banking on high def shred, so use either attack percent or ice damage this 5. For upgrades, Fusion Compiler is your next option for Promeia. On high refinement, you could get close to her signature performance, though when I try it, the score is actually lower than expected. The thing is, Fusion Compiler main stat of pen ratio is kind of wasted here. Accounting for Promeia and Nicole both already has 80% def shred, and the current DA buff also gives another 15%, that's a 95% def shred, close to the saturation point. 24% pen ratio on top of that 95% will not do a lot. But Fusion Compiler passive combat attack percent will do a lot in this team, as there's no attack buffer here, which is why your Fusion Compiler refinement would matter more here. And with Promeia signature, you can at least get 30k. My best is 35k with my best build, but maybe she can still get more. Lycaon is on Astral Voice 4-piece. This is his best build option to buff Promeia. So you would also need to keep in mind to stack Promeia Quick Assist with Nicole EX and Lycaon backward Quick Assist before the stun. And you have to also remember that Lycaon and Promeia has the same attribute, so Lycaon can dilute Promeia anomaly damage with his build-up. That's why you would best build him with AP this 4 with as much attack percent and AP substat in this team, just to be safe. Though inside the stun, Promeia will use her ultimate to renew the Ice Nonlimited, so in the scheme of things, it shouldn't matter much. You can use either Steam Oven or any other S-rank stun engine here. They all work great and they all can get force stun, and none of them give buffing for Promeia, so Lycaon W engine option here will not change much. So does Lycaon Mindscape. Higher Lycaon Mindscape doesn't give any damage increase for Promeia. His M3 does make it easier to get force stun because of the higher days multiplier, but I'm sure M0 Lycaon could still force stun just fine with a good defensive versus RNG. And Nicole with a full energy build on Moonlight 4-piece. You can build her for anomaly damage as well, but don't expect too much return on the damage increase. She's here to give her debuff, so energy regen this 6 is really important. Nicole used Fault here. This is her weakest W engine option. I deliberately chose it to get a low point of reference. Her next upgrade is Kaboom, and after that, Cradle. Even at R1, Kaboom would be way better than Fault, and R5 Cradle would be Nicole's strongest option here.